We are about to embark on a journey into the shadows of secrecy, where access is denied and the mysteries run deep. These places have long been covered in secrecy, and it's time we brought them to the light. Let's delve into the mystical allure of the Ise Grand Shrine in Japan, a pinnacle of spiritual significance in Shintoism. Revered as one of the holiest and most sacred sites, this shrine embodies a tradition steeped in antiquity and mysticism. Uniquely, the Ise Grand Shrine is part of an ancient and ongoing ritual where it is demolished and rebuilt every 20 years, a practice known as Shikinen Sengu. This ritual, deeply embedded in Shinto beliefs, symbolizes the concept of impermanence and renewal, essential to maintaining the purity and power of the shrine. The materials and techniques used for reconstruction are kept traditional, honoring centuries-old craftsmanship. Access to the shrine's innermost sanctum, where the sacred mirror, considered to be one of the 3 imperial regalia of Japan, is kept, is extraordinarily restricted. This privilege is reserved solely for the shrine's priestess or priest, who is usually a member of the Japanese imperial family, and no other person, not even the emperor, is allowed inside. This level of exclusivity and the profound cultural and religious significance of the shrine make it a fascinating, albeit very mysterious, destination. Next up, we have Room 39 in North Korea. Room 39 in North Korea represents a layer of mystery within an already secretive nation. Believed to be nestled in the heart of a ruling Workers' Party building in Pyongyang, Room 39 is enveloped in mysterious tales and a lot of speculation. This clandestine entity is rumored to be a linchpin in a network of illegal activities primarily focused on generating foreign currency for the regime. It is said to be involved in a wide array of covert operations ranging from counterfeiting currencies to international insurance fraud and even illicit substance trafficking. The reality of what transpires within its walls is known to only a select few, shrouded in the utmost secrecy. This veil of mystery only compounds the intrigue surrounding Room 39, making it a focal point of international curiosity and speculations about the lengths to which North Korea goes to sustain its economy and fund its leadership's agendas. Next up, we have the Jiangsu National Security Education Museum in China. This museum, located in the heart of Nanjing, represents a unique facet of espionage history, but with a catch. It is strictly off-limits to foreigners. This policy is not just a formality, it is rigorously enforced, underscoring the sensitive nature of the exhibits within. Inside, the museum houses an extensive collection of Chinese espionage equipment and confidential documents, offering an unparalleled glimpse into the shadowy world of spies and secret agents. It's a veritable treasure trove of state secrets, spy gadgets, and covert operations, accessible exclusively to Chinese citizens. From cipher machines used during revolutionary times to modern-day surveillance equipment, the museum provides a comprehensive overview of China's intelligence history. It stands as a testament to the country's very complex relationship with espionage. It is shrouded in mystery and very tightly controlled, mirroring the secretive and exclusive nature of the intelligence world itself. Next up, we have the Woomera Prohibited area, sprawling across the arid landscape of South Australia. This place stands as one of the world's largest military testing ranges. Covering an area larger than some countries, this vast, desolate expanse is full of secrecy and tightly guarded against public intrusion. Established in the Cold War era, it has been an essential site for testing a wide array of military hardware, ranging from cutting-edge missiles and advanced weaponry to unmanned aerial vehicles and drones. The testing conducted here is crucial for national defense and international collaborations involving partners like the United States. The airspace above Woomera is regularly cleared for testing, creating a temporary no-fly zone that underscores the seriousness of the activities undertaken. Despite its importance, very little is known about the specific projects and experiments conducted within its boundaries, as strict security measures and confidentiality agreements keep these details out of the public eye. This combination of vastness, secrecy, and advanced military military technology makes the Woomera Prohibited area a fascinating and intimidating locale, far more restricted than most classified sites globally. Nestled in the ancient city of Aksum, Ethiopia, stands a modest chapel believed to be the final resting place of one of history's greatest relics, the Ark of the Covenant. This sacred chest, as described in the Hebrew Bible, is said to contain these stone tablets of the 10 Commandments given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shrouded in divine mystery, the Ark's presence in this chapel is guarded by a single monk appointed for life. This guardian, sworn by a vow of silence and seclusion, is the sole human allowed to gaze upon the Ark, making this one of the most restricted religious sites on the planet. This strict access and secretive nature of the chapel's contents have imbued it with a profound sense of reverence and intrigue. Pilgrims and tourists may visit the compound, but the chapel itself remains a tantalizing mystery, its secrets preserved within its unassuming walls. The blend of myth, religion, and historical significance surrounding the Ark continues to captivate the imagination of believers and skeptics alike, making the Chapel of the Ark of the Covenant a unique and mysterious site in the tapestry of human history. Moving on down, we have the Heard Island volcano. Heard Island, situated in the sub-Antarctic, is one of the most remote and inhospitable places on Earth. Dominated by the active volcano Big Ben, the island presents a landscape of dramatic natural beauty and daunting extremes. The harsh climate, characterized by persistent cold, fierce winds, and heavy snowfall, renders access to this isolated island almost impossible. Besides its challenging geography, Heard Island is designated as a protected nature reserve, emphasizing conservation and scientific study while strictly limiting human interference. This combination of natural barriers and legal protection ensures that Heard Island remains one of the least disturbed ecosystems on the planet, a pristine sanctuary for wildlife, and a natural laboratory for scientists studying climate change and volcanic activity. Next up, we have the Royal Bedroom in the United Kingdom. Located in the heart of Buckingham Palace, the Queen's bedroom, well, I suppose it's now the King's bedroom, epitomizes exclusivity and is undeniably one of the most restricted rooms in the entire United Kingdom. This room, steeped in royal history, is a sanctuary for the reigning monarch, filled with priceless artifacts and personal treasures. Its notoriety peaked in 1982 when an intruder, Michael Fagan, shockingly made it past palace security and into the room, an unprecedented breach that shook the foundations of royal security. This incident prompted a massive overhaul of palace security protocols, of course, transforming the bedroom into a veritable fortress within Buckingham Palace. Access to this room is now more tightly controlled than ever, reserved for a select few and guarded with the highest levels of security, ensuring that such a breach remains a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. Moving on, we have Area 122. Area 122, ensconced within the Antarctic Treaty's no-go zones, lies secluded on an island in the Enderby Land, a remote part of Antarctica known for its harsh and unforgiving climate. This area is designated as a specially protected zone, aimed at preserving its unique and fragile ecosystem. It's a sanctuary for an array of polar wildlife, including species that are not found anywhere else on the planet. The strict restrictions in place mean that access is extremely limited, with tourists and even scientists requiring special permits to visit. These permits are seldom granted, ensuring that human impact on the area's pristine environment is kept to an absolute minimum. The isolation and protection of Area 122 make it one of the most intriguing and least disturbed natural areas on Earth, a true example of untouched wilderness. Next up, we have the Granite Mountain Records Vault. Owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Granite Mountain Records Vault is an awe-inspiring facility carved deep into a mountainside near Salt Lake City, Utah. This massive vault, constructed in the 1960s, is a fortress designated to withstand natural disasters and nuclear attacks. Its primary purpose is to house and protect a vast collection of genealogical and historical records, including millions of microfilm materials containing family history and vital records from all over the world. The security measures surrounding the vault are extraordinary, featuring state-of-the-art technology and rigorous protocols to ensure the preservation and protection of these invaluable records. The public's access to the vault itself is extremely limited, with the church maintaining strict control over who can enter the facility. This secrecy and the critical nature of the documents stored within add to the vault's mystique, making it a topic of fascination and intrigue among both genealogists and just the general public. Next up, we have Porton Down. A British research facility located in Wiltshire, Porton Down is a hub of scientific inquiry dedicated to the study of chemical and biological weapons. Established during the First World War, it has since been at the forefront of research in these fields. The activities and experiments conducted at Porton Down are of the highest classification, covered in secrecy and subject to strict government oversight. This veil of mystery has made the facility a magnet for conspiracy theories and controversies over the years. It has been associated with everything from unethical human testing to the development of advanced undisclosed weaponry. Despite its notoriety, Porton Down plays a crucial role in national defense, helping the UK to understand and defend against chemical and biological threats. However, the exact nature of much of its research remains a closely guarded secret, adding to its mysterious and somewhat ominous reputation.
From elusive vaults hiding world-changing secrets to islands where time stands still, these places are shrouded in mystery, guarded tightly by security, and wrapped in intriguing tales.
In a world full of mysteries, our journey isn't over yet. Before we dive into our list today, I have an exciting announcement to make. Please help me in welcoming our newest host on Most Amazing Top 10, Hannah!
Hi everybody! Starting us off today, we have the Baghdad Fort, located in Rajasthan, India. The fort was built in the village of Kuldara in the 17th century by Emperor Madho Singh for his son Man Singh, and is now known today as one of the most haunted places in India. The legend says that when the fort was built, the emperor made a promise to a man named Baba Blue Nath that the shadow of the structure would not touch the body of the man in his home where he practiced his meditations. Unfortunately, the emperor lied and in a bout of greed built the fort much taller and wider than the two had originally agreed upon, which proved to be a big mistake, as it is said that the hermit Baba Balu then cursed the village, which later led to its very abrupt destruction. In 1825, without warning, the village of Kuldara, as well as 83 of its neighboring villages, suddenly vanished in the dark. Now, new studies suggest that the disappearance of the villages may have been due to a devastating earthquake, but I'm not so sure. I mean, Baba Balu seemed pretty serious about the whole shadow thing. Today, the fort is open for exploration from sunrise to sunset, but it is strictly off limits after dark. While there are some who have given into temptation and broken this rule, we're still unsure of what goes on at Bangar Fort in the dead of night, as those who have gone in at this time have never actually come out.
Next up on our list, we have Area 6. Not quite as infamous as its 51st counterpart, Area 6 is much less well known but still full of mystery and forbidden knowledge. Area 6 is just one area on the Nevada test site that is reserved for those with the highest security clearance. While this place isn't full of rumors and speculations of mermaids and aliens, it is the site that held 4 nuclear tests for a total of 6 detonations. This area includes an asphalt runway and some nearby buildings, including a hangar. One of the buildings was originally constructed as a device assembly facility, but it now serves as the CEF, which is the Critical Experiments Facility. One of the most notable moments from Area 6 took place in 1982 during a very crucial time, as a live nuclear bomb, really want to put emphasis on the fact that it was a live nuclear bomb, was being lowered into the ground, presumably for one of the experiments experiments, the base actually came under attack by armed combatants. This, of course, was surprising and dangerous and frightening, especially considering the live nuclear weapon that was around at the time. As it turns out, this attack was actually just a security team that was conducting a drill. Looks as if someone messed up on the scheduling that day, and it almost turned out completely catastrophic. Luckily, whoever was at the control point, which serves as the communication hub of Area 6, where they control the weapons triggers and monitor the test nuclear explosions, luckily those in the control area that day were able to recognize this mistake before anything got too out of hand.
Moving on to Poveglia Island in Italy. The small island located between Venice and Lido was once used as a quarantine center for those affected with the plague. The island is said to have hosted over 160,000 infected individuals who, upon their demise, were either buried in massively overcrowded graves or simply burned due to said overcrowding. There are even reports out there that state a whopping 50% of the island's soil is actually consistent of human remains. And believe it or not, it doesn't actually end there, as in the late 1800s, the island was used as a mental hospital where it is believed one of the doctors routinely tortured his patients. And if that's not enough, because of all this, it is now believed that the island is extremely haunted, with some going so far as to say it's the most haunted place in the world. Reports of ghost sightings and hearing the screams of the deceased in the dead of night are by no means in short supply. In 1968, the Italian government decided it wanted absolutely nothing to do with the island, the smell of death, and all of the spooky baggage, and therefore it deemed it both banned and prohibited. You are more than welcome to take boat rides around the island, but to step foot on the sands of what is essentially just a massive graveyard is a big no-no. What's the creepiest place you've ever been? Let us know in the comments.
Coming up next, we have the Morgan Stanley's data center located in New York. It is recognized as one of the most secure data centers globally. This facility plays a pivotal role in the world of finance, handling an immense volume of sensitive financial data and transactions daily. The security and integrity of this data are paramount given its potential impact on global markets and the privacy of countless individuals. Consequently, the data center employs state-of-the-art security measures, both digital and physical, to safeguard against any form of breach or intrusion. The exact location and intricate details of this facility are a closely guarded secret, known only to a select few within the organization. This secrecy is maintained not just to protect the center from physical threats, but also to safeguard against cyber threats, which are increasingly sophisticated in the financial sector. The data center's operations are a testament to Morgan Stanley's commitment to security and confidentiality, reflecting the immense responsibility they bear in the global financial landscape. This sounds really a lot like an ad for Morgan Stanley. You're welcome, guys. I'm doing it for free. It's like a fortress for all things financial, all right? You're welcome, Morgan.
On a bit of a lighter note, the Coca-Cola Vault is up next on the list. The vault, located in a museum in Atlanta, is, as you've probably guessed, home to the notorious Coca-Cola recipe, or the secret formula, some might say. The recipe, which dates all the way back to 1986, was originally kept at SunTrust Bank under lock and key from 1925 up until the company's 25th anniversary in 1996, when the super secret recipe was relocated to the high-tech vault in Atlanta. But any visitors hoping to catch a peek were sadly disappointed, as even during the transportation period, the recipe was kept under lock and key, securely sealed inside a metal box. Of course, the 10-foot vault in which the secret formula is kept is strictly off limits to the public. While the recipe is allegedly written down and highly protected, it is said that there are 2 people in the world who have actually laid eyes on it and have the formula memorized. These 2 individuals are forbidden from ever flying on the same plane, so that in the unlikely event of a crash landing ending in the tragic death of one, the other would still be able to carry on the legacy. Not sure about you guys, but for such a big safe, I kind of wonder what else they're hiding in there.
Next up around our halfway point is the Dome of the Rock, an architectural marvel and a spiritual mystery that stands majestically in Jerusalem, captivating the imaginations of millions worldwide. Covered in layers of history and reverence, this iconic structure is not only a masterpiece of Islamic architecture, but also a symbol of the complex tapestry of faiths in Jerusalem. For many, it remains an elusive treasure, as access to the interior is extremely limited, especially for non-Muslim visitors, adding to its aura of mystery. Perched atop the ancient and sacred Temple Mount, the site whispers tales of religious significance, rumored to be the place where Abraham prepared to sacrifice Isaac and where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. The shimmering golden dome, visible from various points in the city, serves as a beacon of intrigue, silently guarding centuries-old secrets and religious mysteries. This restriction on entry only amplifies the dome's allure, making it a very tantalizing emblem of the untouchable, covered in myth, history, and spiritual significance.
And that brings us to the Fukushima exclusion zone in none other than Fukushima, Japan. The exclusion zone came to be as a result of a nuclear disaster that occurred in March of 2011. On March 11th, Japan was struck by a massive earthquake, followed quickly by a tsunami in which waves reaching more than 10 meters high engulfed the island. The devastation of the natural disaster caused the reactors of the Daiichi nuclear power plant to overheat, melt, and subsequently leak harsh radioactive materials into the surrounding environment. Not only did this cause the area to become banned to members of the public, it also resulted in some pretty interesting effects on the surrounding areas and wildlife. Mutations were reported to be found in butterflies and on the leaves of many trees surrounding the site of the meltdown. Scientists worried about the lasting effects this might have on the area, but a recent study suggested that there was no significant increase to the mutation rate within the area. While parts of Fukushima have now been reopened for public exploration, the site of and the immediate area surrounding the meltdown are still of restricted access. Despite these restrictions, in 2016, a Malaysian photographer and 2 colleagues managed to sneak their way into the prohibited area, and after emerging back into the better-known world, described it as a ghost town and said being there made them feel as though they were the last people on the planet.
Kicking off the top 3, we have the Dai Hiwa Kinanto, or the Great Peace Prayer Tower, which is situated in Osaka, Japan. This place stands as a solemn monument dedicated to the memory of those who lost their lives during World War II. This poignant memorial is a symbol of peace and reflection, embodying the hopes for a world without war. Within its grounds lies an especially poignant section, an underground library. This library is a repository of deeply personal and historic artifacts, a collection of letters written by soldiers during the war. These letters, often the last messages sent to their families and loved ones, offer a window into the human experiences and emotions of wartime. However, access to this underground library is not granted to the public. It remains a restricted area, preserving the privacy and sanctity of these personal and historical documents. This is exactly what sets this place apart from other memorial buildings. It's not just a memorial in the traditional sense, but also a guardian of personal histories and a testament to the individual lives affected by the ravages of war.
And of course we had to include the extremely bizarre yet strangely captivating Morgan Island. With more than 2,000 acres of beautiful land located in South Carolina, the island has often been referred to as Monkey Island, which is quite fitting as the area is home to over 4,000 wild rhesus monkeys. The species, however, is not native to the island, but was rather brought over from Puerto Rico in 6 shipments during 1997 and 3 more in 1980 in an attempt to relocate these silly little creatures. Now, if you're wondering why on earth the lovely people on the beautiful island of Puerto Rico wanted the monkeys gone in the first place, well, that's because they weren't just any regular old rhesus monkeys, but they were rhesus monkeys infected with the herpes B virus, which I will save you the Google search. Yes, humans can 100% contract the virus from coming in contact with the affected monkeys. So it's safe to say that the fact this island has banned public entry, strictly reserving the area for researchers only, is not something any of us are too torn up about. I mean, monkeys are cute and all, but I'm quite happy to count myself out from this particular tropical paradise.
Finally, rounding out our list today, we have Club 33, an exclusive and elusive club nestled in the heart of Disneyland. It is a symbol of luxury and exclusivity in a place otherwise known for its accessibility and universal appeal. This well-kept secret of Disneyland, discreetly located in New Orleans Square, boasts a waiting list that spans years, reflecting its allure and very exclusive nature. Gaining membership to Club 33 is not only a matter of patience, but also of financial might, as it comes with a very steep price tag. Rumored to be in the tens of thousands of dollars for initiation fees, plus annual dues, of course. The club offers its members a unique experience, hopefully, thank God if it costs tens of thousands of dollars, including access to a gourmet restaurant, a lounge, and a range of exclusive events and perks unavailable to regular park visitors. The interiors are lavishly decorated, offering an elegant respite from the bustling energy of Disneyland. With its rich history having been originally designed as a place for Walt Disney to entertain dignitaries and VIPs, Club 33 remains one of the most coveted hidden gems in Disneyland, offering a side of the park that the public never sees and adding an air of mystique to the already magical environment.
We're starting off the list with the Bennington Triangle. The Bennington Triangle is a chunk of Vermont that swallowed up its fair share of people. This area, stretching from Glastonbury Mountain to Bennington, seems to be a hotspot for weird stuff. There have been some downright eerie disappearances here. Cases where people have just vanished without a trace. The first one was in 1945. A woman named Paula Weldon went for a hike and never came back. Now, it's not unheard of for people to go missing on hikes, but she was with a sizable group and seemed to be there 1 second and gone the next. No sign, no explanation, no body ever found. Then in 1946, a college student named James Tetford boarded a bus but never got off. His luggage was still there, but him? Nowhere to be seen. According to everyone else on board, he'd been sleeping in his seat, but when the bus arrived at its destination in Bennington, he was just gone. A few years later, in 1950, Paul Jepson went hunting, never came back, and it doesn't stop there. Freda Langer, in 51, took a stroll, and you can probably guess the rest. This is just the tip of the iceberg, so it's no surprise that the woods have become known for being cursed, haunted, or just plain evil. Some even say there could be a portal to another dimension somewhere in the triangle. Number 9, we have Yosemite National Park. This park in California has become a pretty popular setting for creepy stories and urban legends. And the reason for that seems to be that some genuinely mysterious stuff has gone on here. Take the case of Stacey Arris in 1981. She vanished without a trace during a backpacking trip, leaving behind only her scattered belongings. No conclusive evidence was ever found. Another incident involved the disappearance of George W. Anderson in 1927. He was an experienced hiker, but he too vanished without a trace. Some claim there's an eerie pattern to these disappearances, as if the park itself seems to swallow people up. The park's rugged terrain and vast wilderness also make search and rescue operations a bit of a challenge. Some speculate that these vanishings could be attributed to natural dangers like steep cliffs and unpredictable weather. Others, though, insist there's something more mysterious lurking in the shadows. Next up, we have Hoya Baku Forest in Transylvania. If there's any place on Earth where you're gonna find a genuine haunted forest, it's probably in Transylvania. This forest is said to be the most haunted one in the entire world, and locals often refer to it as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. One of the most famous legends involves a shepherd who, along with his flock of 200 sheep, disappeared without a trace in the forest with no reasonable explanation ever being found. The clearing, a circular area within the forest, is said to be a hotbed for paranormal phenomena. Visitors have reported unexplained rashes, nausea, and feeling anxiety when entering this mysterious zone where vegetation just doesn't seem to grow. Photographs taken in the forest sometimes reveal strange shapes and unexplained orbs of light. Another famous story associated with this forest is that of a young girl who went missing while in the forest. People searched for her tirelessly, but there were just no signs of her, and eventually it started to look like she was never going to be found. 5 years went by, and then, miraculously, out of nowhere, the girl showed up again, as if she'd just gone missing the day before. She was still wearing the same clothes she had on 5 years before, and hadn't looked like she'd aged a day. She wasn't even distressed. This story is part of why some speculate that there could be some sort of portal in the forest to another dimension or a parallel universe. At number 7, we have Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which sits on the border between North Carolina and Tennessee. One of the most well-known phenomena in the area is known as the Brown Mountain Lights, mysterious illuminations that appear along Brown Mountain. Some insist that these lights are ghostly apparitions or signs of extraterrestrial activity. The lights have never been definitively explained. There's also a ghost town called Elkmont within the park. At one time, it was a vibrant community, but in 1934, the land was purchased to establish the park, and after the residents of these cottages and homes died off, they were just left standing. Some visitors claim to have encountered the spirit of a young girl named Mandy in the Greenbrier section of the park. According to the legend, Mandy perished in a tragic accident, and her ghost is said to appear to those who venture into the area. Next on the list, we have the Matterhorn incident. This was an incredibly disturbing accident that happened at Disneyland. So this ride is a roller coaster that winds its way through a mountain set modeled after the famous Matterhorn mountain in the Alps. It looks like a pretty cool ride. You get to see all these cool looking stalactites. There's an animatronic Yeti. I love a good animatronic Yeti. Good, clean fun. But the ride will always be stained by a tragic incident involving 48-year-old Dolly Young back in 1984. The ride took off and everything seemed fine, but then Young was thrown from the ride. She flew out of one of the bobsled cars and struck an oncoming one. She was instantly decapitated. Once an investigation was carried out, it was discovered that her seatbelt had been unbuckled, but it wasn't clear if she'd unbuckle it herself or if it malfunctioned. The Omni Grove Park Inn. This inn, which stands in Asheville, North Carolina, has a charmingly historic vibe. But aside from how elegant and cozy the place looks, a ghostly presence known as the Pink Lady has become a part of its lore, with reports from both guests and staff spanning several years. The Pink Lady, once a guest herself, seems to have never checked out. Described as a pinkish smoky haze, she occasionally takes on the form of a young woman wearing a pink ball gown. The heart of the haunting centers around room 545, where she is said to linger. According to the tale, the Pink Lady met a tragic end, falling from the 5th floor balcony to the 3rd. As for how she fell, there are different versions of the story. Some claim she was thrown, while others say she took her own life. Unlike some ghosts, though, encounters with the Pink Lady are often kinda cute. Guests have reported playful stuff. They'll wake up to find their rooms rearranged, lights flickering on and off mysteriously, and some even waking in the middle of the night, feeling like someone or something is tickling their feet. Creepy, no doubt, but not the worst thing in the world. At number 4, we have the Paris Catacombs. The Paris Catacombs, stretching beneath the streets of the city, are a vast underground ossuary holding the remains of around 6 million people. Wonder why this place seems kind of scary. There are countless urban legends about the catacombs, a lot having to do with them being haunted by the spirits of the deceased. Some claim to have witnessed shadowy figures or felt an unseen presence while on tours. One infamous event happened at some time in the early 90s when a man who became known as the Lost Cataphile ventured into the underground labyrinth. His video footage captured his descent into the darkness, and as the footage plays out, he becomes increasingly disoriented and panicked. The video ends abruptly with the man dropping the camera and running deeper into the catacombs. The camera, along with the footage, was discovered sometime later, but the man behind it has never been found. Next up is the Langham Hotel. Built in 1865, this hotel has earned a reputation as one of England's most haunted hotels. Over the years, numerous guests have checked in, but according to various reports, some seem to have never left. One of the most prominent spirits said to haunt this hotel is a German prince who met a tragic end when he fell from an upper story window. Staff members have recounted sightings of his ghostly figure gliding through walls, often accompanied by a noticeable drop in temperature. Room 333 has been deemed the most haunted. One account involves a BBC newscaster who stayed in the room. He woke up to the sight of a ghostly figure in Victoria-era evening wear, hovering in midair. The apparition had no legs and started moving towards him with outstretched arms. In 2014, the Langham made headlines when several members of the English national cricket team abruptly left the hotel in the middle of the night, complaining about paranormal disturbances in their rooms. Players reported unexplained heat, taps turning on by themselves in the bathroom, and an overall sense of unease with this unseen presence lingering. Number 2, Casa del Anime. Casa del Anime, once an inn, has a dark history linked to a twisted family driven by violence and greed. This family targeted their wealthier guests, providing them supposedly luxurious rooms located away from the main road, but these accommodations became death traps. The family devised a gruesome scheme to profit off of them, not just by charging more for a better room, but by taking the lives of their well-to-do guests in their sleep. The method was horrifyingly simple: drop in large pieces of furniture onto the unsuspecting victims, crushing them. Following this, the family would rob the deceased before disposing of their bodies in a large hole on the premises, turning it into a grim mass grave. After World War II, a new family took over the inn, only to report unsettling experiences. They claimed to hear chilling sounds at night, echoes of massive objects crashing, and the clatter of crockery. To this day, Casa del Anime is believed to be haunted by the tormented spirits of those who met their tragic end within its walls. And finally, we have Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona. There are numerous reports of former guests here who seemingly never checked out, their spirits lingering within its walls. One eerie tale involves a pair of ghosts, two women who, according to local lore, were thrown from the 3rd floor back in the day. They're said to spend their afterlife attempting to strangle male guests as they sleep. Room 220 has its own macabre history. A long-term guest in the early 80s had an unusual habit of hanging meat from the chandelier in his room. His life ended mysteriously, and since then, there have been reports of strange occurrences in the room. Staff members often steer clear of it, and guests have said the TV turns on by itself at full volume, and yes, the TV has apparently been replaced more than once. Some have even described feeling the touch of a cold, unseen hand. Then we're starting things off with Craco. This commune in the southern Italian region of Basilicata now stands as a ghost town. Dilapidated homes, crumbling walls, and remnants of a once vibrant community now stand frozen in time, and there have been rumors of hauntings surrounding the place for decades. Greco's history can be traced back to the 8th century, with the settlement evolving over the centuries into a thriving community. But various natural disasters like earthquakes and landslides forced the residents to abandon their homes in the mid-20th century. The final exodus took place in 1963 when the government deemed the town unsafe to live in. Craco, or whatever's left of it now, still stands today, and those empty houses and deserted streets have fueled countless legends of hauntings and supernatural occurrences. Visitors have reported strange sounds and ghostly apparitions. Some attribute these phenomena to the tragic events that led to the town's abandonment. One popular tale revolves around the Church of Santa Maria della Stella. According to the locals, the church is haunted by the ghost of a nun who allegedly died under mysterious circumstances. Visitors claim to have heard footsteps, whispers, and even seen the ghostly figure wandering through the crumbling aisles. At our number 9 spot, we have Poveglia. The small island located in the Venetian lagoon of northern Italy is said to be one of the most haunted places in the country. The origins of Poveglia date back to the Roman era, but it got its sinister reputation during the bubonic plague. The island became a quarantine station for ships arriving in Venice, and later a dumping ground for those afflicted by the plague. Thousands of bodies were unceremoniously dumped into mass graves. Then, in 1922, the island was repurposed as a mental hospital. And mental hospitals in the 1920s were not anything like the types of facilities that we get today. These institutions were pretty much hell on earth. It operated for several decades, with rumors circulating about questionable medical practices and mistreatment of patients. The hospital was eventually closed in 1968, and Poveglia was left abandoned, a dumping ground for bubonic plague victims and the site of a horrific mental hospital. Yeah, no wonder people think this place is still messed up. Those who have had the clearance to go to the island have reported hearing disembodied voices, screams, and footsteps echoing through the dilapidated structures. Some claim to have seen apparitions of plague victims and disturbed spirits roaming the abandoned hospital wards. Access to the island is restricted. The Italian government has prohibited public entry, and trespassers risk legal consequences, and that just makes the place more alluring, doesn't it? Number 8, Casa Dario in Venice. The Venetian Gothic Palace in Venice is one of the most haunted buildings in the city. There have been a series of misfortunes that have befallen many of its owners throughout the years. It was constructed in the 15th century, and architecturally, it's beautiful. Despite this aesthetic appeal, though, the palace has earned a dark reputation because of the series of tragedies that have plagued its owners. The belief in a curse surrounding Dario has persisted for centuries. The first owner to fall victim to misfortune was Giovanni Dario, the original commissioner of the palace. Legend has it that he went bankrupt during the construction, leading to financial ruin. Future owners faced similar fates, with a series of bankruptcies, untimely deaths, and family tragedies. One of these former owners was Charles Briggs, an Englishman who purchased the palace in the 19th century. After acquiring Dario, Briggs lost his wife and daughter. The next owner, a ballet dancer named Rolf von Bockelmann, also met an untimely end shortly after acquiring the property. Next on the list is the Capuchin Catacombs. The Capuchin Catacombs in Palermo, Italy, are an extensive underground burial site that houses thousands of mummies. It was built in the 16th century, initially intended for monks, clergy, and other wealthy citizens. Over time, it evolved into this unique burial ground that captured the deceased in various states of preservation. The catacombs consist of long corridors lined with shelves that hold coffins, some containing the deceased in their original clothing. The bodies are arranged in a range of poses, from standing to lying down, creating this eerie spectacle that has intrigued and disturbed visitors for centuries. The catacombs were in use until the 1920s, and the last body was added to the catacombs in 1920. No surprise here, these catacombs are often associated with tales of hauntings. The legend goes that the spirits of the deceased linger within the catacombs, and visitors have reported eerie occurrences, hearing unexplained sounds and whispers. Some have even claimed to see the eyes of the mummies move, or felt a presence guiding them through the dimly lit corridors. There are also stories about specific mummies. Take Rosalina Lombardo, for example, a young woman who appears remarkably well preserved. Some visitors claim to witness Rosalina's eyes opening. And at our number 6 spot is the Museum of Mummies. This place houses a collection of naturally mummified bodies dating back several centuries. The mummies on display were discovered in the nearby catacombs of Santa Maria, where environmental conditions had led to these bodies being exceptionally well preserved. The museum offers visitors a glimpse into the burial practices and customs of the local population from the 19th and early 20th centuries. The bodies are arranged in these open coffins. The mummification process occurred spontaneously due to the specific microclimate within the catacombs, a combination of low humidity and stable temperatures. It's gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Many visitors and locals claim to have experienced supernatural occurrences within the museum's premises. Tales of ghostly apparitions, mysterious footsteps, and unexplained sounds have all been reported. Some speculate that the unique conditions that led to the natural mummification process may have somehow preserved not only the physical bodies, but also the spiritual essence of these individuals. And at number 5 is Evil Tower. The Evil Tower at Castello de Papi in Italy is home to a haunting tale involving the vengeful spirit of Matilda. According to local legend, Matilda met a tragic fate after committing a heinous act. She took the life of her lover right after some intimacy. And that really seemed to tick people off. It was just particularly cruel. I don't think there's ever a good time necessarily to end an innocent person's life, but right after getting down with them, probably the worst timing possible. As a consequence of this gruesome crime, she was condemned to the ultimate punishment, a death sentence. The spirit of Matilda is believed to linger within the confines of the Evil Tower. The tale suggests that her restless soul haunts the grounds, trapped in a perpetual state of anguish and regret. Number 4, the Botanical Garden. The Botanical Garden in Lucca, Italy is said to be haunted by its former owner, Lucida Mansi, a noblewoman with a penchant for dark deeds. Lucida was known for a macabre practice. It's said that she would take the lives of her young lovers by leading them to a trap door equipped with sharp blades, again right after sleeping with them. Legend has it that she was desperate to retain her youthful appearance and sold her soul to the devil in exchange for an additional 30 years of beauty. This unholy pact granted her an extended period of youth, but condemned her to a life steeped in malevolence. The story goes that if you visit the lake within the Botanical Garden and gaze into its waters, putting your face down, you just might witness Lucida's expression reflected back at you, as if she's peering into a mirror, perpetually haunted by the consequences of her sinister choices. At third place, we have Casa del Anime. Casa del Anime, once an inn, has a grim history behind it. The establishment was once owned by a deranged family with a penchant for violence and greed. This family engaged in a horrific method of dispatching some of their more wealthy customers. In this inn, you had your standard rooms, but then there were 2 rooms that were supposedly a bit more luxurious, located at the back of the building, away from the roadside. These rooms were reserved for their more well-to-do guests. The owners seek to profit off of these people, not just by having them pay for a nicer room, but by crushing them to death as well. They would drop massive pieces of furniture onto their unsuspecting victims, crushing them to death in their sleep. After committing that gruesome act, the family would proceed to rob the deceased of their belongings before callously disposing of the bodies. The victims were cast into this large hole on the premises, transformed into a mass grave. After World War II, the inn was inhabited by a different family who soon reported unsettling experiences, claiming to hear the chilling sounds at night of echoes of enormous objects crashing to the floor and clattering of crockery. To this day, Casa del Anime is said to be haunted by the tortured spirits of those who met their tragic end within its walls. Number 2, Castello de Fenis. Castello de Fenis is a historic castle dating back to the 14th century. It was constructed by the Challant family. While the castle is open to visitors today, there are areas that remain restricted, and it's believed that these sections are teeming with the lingering spirits of past residents. Reports from those touring the castle describe unsettling occurrences. Disembodied voices are said to reverberate down the empty halls. Spectral figures dressed in medieval attire have been spotted drifting through the towers and along the battlements, only to vanish without a trace. One particularly haunting tale involves a ghostly figure associated with a man who was known to play the violin. The story goes that this musician mysteriously disappeared one day, leaving his violin case behind, and some visitors claim to hear the haunting strains of a violin playing within the castle, as if the ghostly musician continues to serenade the halls from beyond the grave. Finally, we have Villa Mignoni, said to be haunted by a witch. Villa Magnoni is an abandoned house situated in the quiet village of Kona. The windows of this eerie residence are now walled up, except for one. The place has sat abandoned for years, but one day in the late 80s, a group of young men decided to explore the abandoned house. They managed to break in, and once inside, they all started looking at each other, confused and incredibly unsettled. They were all hearing the unmistakable sound of children singing. It was coming from the garden, but when they went to look, there was nobody there. To their horror, the men looked up to discover an old woman scolding and insulting them from a floor above, cursing and yelling at them to leave. They scrambled away from the abandoned property, tearing off in their car, but not long after they'd hit the road, they were involved in a horrific car accident. 3 of them lost their lives in the crash, leaving only one survivor behind. After this incident, villagers sealed off the windows of the house, but weeks later, the covering on one particular window, the very one where the old woman had appeared, was found mysteriously uncovered.
Coming in at number 10 is Fort Delaware. Fort Delaware, built in the 19th century to protect the ports of Wilmington and Philadelphia, served as a prison camp for Confederate prisoners of war during the Civil War. Almost 13,000 prisoners were held at one time, and around 33,000 were kept there in total over the course of the war. Now, conditions were rough, and around 2,500 men died at the fort. The fort was then abandoned towards the end of World War II and became a state park in 1951. Today, it is extremely haunted. It's rumored that throughout the parade grounds, Confederate spirits roam, still trying to escape from the fort. One of the most popular stories is of an attempted escape from a Confederate drummer boy. Legend has it he tried to fake his own death in order to be transported back across the river in a coffin. Waiting on him on the other side of the river were either sympathetic Union troops or fellow inmates who were supposed to free him from the coffin. Unfortunately, a shift changed SWAT personnel, and instead of being freed, the boy was buried alive. Now, there's also a photograph that was taken of a ghost there who's called the Blue Man, and this place is just filled with ghosts roaming around. Number 9. Poinsett Bridge. Poinsett Bridge is the oldest bridge in South Carolina and perhaps the entire southeastern United States. According to local folklore, Poinsett Bridge was built on the site of an old Indian burial ground dating back to when Cherokees were the only inhabitants of the mountains of the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. With this, it's no shock that this place is haunted. Other stories go that some of the men who worked to build Poinsett Bridge died during the bridge's construction due to a variety of illnesses, one of which was malaria. These men were then supposedly buried under and even within the bridge itself. Now, according to one legend, a slave was once hung under Poinsett Bridge and his ghost still haunts it, said resident Doris Davis. The bridge is haunted by those who helped build it, but got none of Joel Poinsett's glory. The ghosts of the slaves who died during construction sometimes reappear as lights in the surrounding woods and on the bridge itself after dusk and hover in mid-air for a few seconds and then vanish. Number 8. Eastern State Penitentiary. Eastern State Penitentiary is a former prison in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The punishments here were horrible. There was a water bath in which inmates were dunked, then hung up on a wall in winter until ice formed on the skin. There was the mad chair, which bound an inmate so tightly that circulation was cut off, later necessitating amputations. There was the iron gag, in which an inmate's hands were tied behind the back and strapped to an iron collar in the mouth so that any movement caused the tongue to tear and bleed profusely. And then there was the hole, which was an underground cell where prisoners had no light, no human contact, no exercise, no toilet, and little food and air. With all these horrors, it's no shock that the place is haunted. Cell block 12 is known for echoing voices and cackling, cell block 6 for shadowy figures darting along the walls, and cell block 4 for visions of ghostly faces. Many people have reported seeing a silhouette of a guard in one of the towers. There's footsteps, and one of the most legendary tales comes from Gary Johnson, who helps maintain the crumbling old locks at the prison. In the early 1990s, he had just opened an old lock in cell block 4 when he said a force gripped him so tightly that he was unable to move. He described a negative, horrible energy that exploded out of the cell. He also added that tormented faces appeared on the cell walls and that one form in particular beckoned to him. Number 7. Bodie. Bodie is a ghost town
located in California. In the 1870s and 80s, Bodie boomed when gold was found in the hills surrounding Mono Lake, which at one point was home to 10,000 people. It's now a state historic park, with some parts of the town preserved in a state of arrested decay. Now, there are many reports of supernatural activity here, including ghost sightings and music playing from shuttered bars. There's also a legend that any visitor who takes anything from Bodie, even a rock, will be cursed with bad luck and health problems upon leaving. According to park rangers, many who have taken things eventually return them to the park to rid themselves of this curse. Now, the Gregory House is said to be haunted by the ghost of an old woman. Guests and staff have reported seeing her sitting in a rocking chair knitting an Afghan. Other times, the rocking chair has been seen rocking on its own. The Mendocini House is called home to several friendly ghosts. One is thought to be Miss Mocindy, who loved to cook her Italian food, and rangers report today that they often smell the delicious aroma of her cooking when they enter the house. Number 6. Emily's Bridge. Emily's Bridge in Stowe, Vermont is a 50-foot long bridge that's said to be the site of a young woman's death in the mid-1800s. According to legend, the woman, Emily, was supposed to meet her lover at the bridge to elope, but she ended up hanging herself from the rafters when he never showed up. Today, Emily's ghost is said to haunt the site, and instead of being full of sorrow, she's full of vengeance, as it's been reported that she claws at passing cars and even scratches the backs of pedestrians until they bleed. There are slightly less menacing spooks as well, like images of a white apparition and strange voices and footsteps coming from the tunnel. Number 5. Letchworth Village. Letchworth Village, located in New York, is a complex that used to be a mental institution from 1911 to 1996. Now, like most mental institutions, it closed after controversial experience on mental patients were condemned. The village, at the height of treatment in the 1960s, employed more than 10,000 locals who oversaw the patients on the grounds. Letchworth Village's reputation began its downward spiral in 1972 when journalist Geraldo Rivera published an expose on the cruel practices at Letchworth. Some things he revealed were, from the 1930s to 60s, Letchworth was a testing ground and then a frequent utilizer of electroconvulsive shock therapy, both as a treatment model and to see what effects it had on the brains of the feeble-minded morons, imbeciles, and idiots, to use the official medical terms of the times. Now, most of these patients didn't survive, or they ended up far worse than they started. In the 1930s and 40s, trepanning and lobotomies, physical and chemical, were carried out in secret, often as a part of research studies. More than 800 people died as a result of mistreatment or experimentation, and they were buried in unmarked graves at the far end of the Letchworth property. Number 4. The Shanghai Tunnels. The Shanghai Tunnels in Portland were built by Chinese workers during the time when Chinatown was the center for trade business. The tunnel's original design was for transporting goods from cargo ships to the inner city. By using the tunnels, the ship's crew could avoid the hassle of inner city traffic. Now, the tunnels get their name for the practice of kidnapping and selling men as workers on ships headed to East Asia. Restless, agitated spirits of men who were drugged and trafficked in the city ports during the early 19th century are said to haunt the underground tunnels, through which they were reportedly sold. Legend has it that local saloons contained entrances to the tunnels, enabling swindlers to prey on unsuspecting patrons and bring them directly underground before they even knew what was going on. Now, deep within the tunnels, travelers have reported feeling goosebumps as if someone is watching them from the shadows. Many people report seeing an Asian man walking past them in the tunnels, and explorers name the spirit Sam and say that he is responsible for turning off the lights in the bar basements. Sam also likes to move things around in the tunnels as explorers walk by. Now, up until 2023, visitors could also take walking tours to learn more about the dark history of the tunnels, but the tours have ended indefinitely. Number 3. Northern State Mental Hospital. Northern State Mental Hospital in Washington operated from 1912 to 1976. Like countless other mental asylums of the time, grisly experiments were performed on patients, some of which have even been rumored to be part of the top secret government program MK Ultra. Now, patients were being subjected to treatments like insulin shock therapy, lobotomies, and electroshock therapy. Heavy sedation with powerful drugs was also a common form of treatment, but truly it was just to keep patients in line and submissive. Now, countless patients died here, and rarely were the bodies claimed by families, so their disposal was left to the state. According to hospital records, 1,487 bodies are buried on the grounds of the asylum. The Washington state legislature cut off funding to the asylum, and in 1976, Northern State officially closed its its doors. Now with so much suffering, death, and disregard for human life, the place is just straight up haunted. Most of those who were admitted weren't actually suffering from severe mental illness and were sent to the asylum to live out the rest of their lives under lock and key. Those who dare visit the asylum grounds report strange phenomena such as cold spots, the feeling of being watched, disembodied voices, and the feeling of being touched. Now some have seen strange shadows darting around the graveyard. Now the most commonly encountered entity is that of a young girl with a red ball and a man chasing after her. They've been seen running around the property, though some report the girl standing alone in the graveyard as well. Number 2. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park in West Virginia is full of history. Legend has it that this land in Rock, West Virginia was once occupied by the Clay family, whose sons and daughters were kidnapped and had their lives ended by Native Americans, while the father, Mitchell Clay, was out hunting. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park opened in 1926 and was abandoned 40 years later after a girl died on the swing set and a boy drowned in the pond. In 1985, Gaylord White, a former employee of the park, purchased the land with plans to reopen it, but those dreams were put to a stop after human remains were found buried on the property. There were 13 skeletons in total. White believes the premises to be haunted and says he's seen the girl who met her fatal end after a truck backed into her on the swings. And coming at number 1 is Summerwind Mansion. Summerwind Mansion in Wisconsin is believed to be one of the most haunted places in the US. This abandoned building is located on the shores of West Bay Lake in Vilas County on private land. The Lama were the owners of this mansion, and for 15 years of their occupancy, they experienced strange things. In the mid-1930s, as the family was busy dining, the door to the basement opened with a man appearing out of thin air. Limit shot at the spirit twice and chased him back into the cellar. The family later moved out, leaving the mansion empty until the 1970s when Arnold and Ginger Hinshaw purchased the building to turn it into a dream home. However, the paranormal activity chased the crew away, and the Hinshaws then took the renovation work into their own hands. Even then, the strange happenings did not stop. One night, Mary, Arnold's daughter, found a human skull and a handful of black hair in a hidden crawl space, which mysteriously disappeared when the police decided to investigate the house years later. The Hinshaws started behaving abnormally, and strange things still happen at that mansion, even after its destruction by lightning that occurred in 1988, leaving much of it completely destroyed. Coming in at number 10 is Singi de Baramara. Located on the very western edge of Madagascar, an island off the coast of southern Africa, this national park is centered around two large geographical features called Great Singi and Little Singi. These rock formations are plateaus, which have had deep ruts cut into them by the groundwater to the point of making them completely unable to be traveled or walked upon. The word Singi, when translated, even means where one cannot walk barefoot, making it the perfect name for this incredibly unique area of the world. Because of the vast area in which these formations are located, the park was made unexplorable simply because of the fact that it is impossible to cross over the jagged plateaus. And let me just say, I wouldn't even want to try to walk through there. Number 9. Mars. Humans have always dreamed about going and creating life on Mars, and they're trying to make that a reality. Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, has long predicted that humans will land on Mars by 2029, but there are some huge challenges when trying to do that. The biggest challenge to go to Mars is the time duration to go there and come back. The window for launch to Mars from Earth only happens approximately every 2 years and 2 months. This means astronauts leaving in 2024 wouldn't be able to get help before 2026 when the next launch window opens and help gets there after the 9-month journey. Now the other hard part of going to Mars is the landing. Under Elon's plan, your spaceship would be approaching Mars at 62,000 miles per hour. As it descends into the atmosphere, the ship would then use supersonic retropropulsion, aka lots of little rockets firing at once, in order to land on the surface of Mars. Now this landing maneuver is risky because Mars's atmosphere is so much thinner than Earth's, so there's less friction to slow you down. NASA has struggled to land even small robots on the surface. The system used to decelerate and then parachute the Curiosity rover on Mars was mind-boggling, and Curiosity only weighed 1 ton, and Elon is envisioning 450 tons. Plenty could go wrong, like an explosion. Now it's also said that Mars wouldn't be an ideal place to live as there's radiation exposure, there's low sources of energy, gravity, and we can't grow food there, and so much more. Will we ever make it to Mars? Who knows, but we sure won't be living there anytime soon. Number 8. North Sentinel Island. This small island lies in the Bay of Bengal between the southern coasts of India and Thailand, making it extremely remote. Its inhabitants, called the Sentinelese people, are the only human beings who have ever lived on the island and have long since refused to accept modern visitors. Anyone who comes to the island to try and explore or study the area is immediately rejected, oftentimes with violence. The Sentinelese tribe have existed on the island for more than 50,000 years as per the protection given by the Indian government. The island is forbidden for any visitors of any kind. Now, throughout history, encounters with the population have been met with violence, as in 2006 the tribe ended the lives of 2 fishermen whose boat had been dragged by the current on their shores. Then in 2018, John Allen Cho, who is reported to be a Christian preacher and a US citizen, was shot dead by them after he illegally entered the prohibited area with the help of local fishermen. Now, according to The Guardian, a 3-mile restriction zone prevents visitors from entering the territory. Due to all this, the Indian government has abandoned any plans to contact the Sentinels. The entire tribe could be wiped out by diseases to which they have no immunity, which is why authorities respect their wish to remain uncontacted. Because of this, the island exists completely out of touch with the rest of the modern world, and it's basically completely unexplored. Number 7. Namib Desert. This desert, located along the Atlantic coasts of Angola, Namibia, and South Africa, stretches for more than 1,200 miles and is one of the driest places in the entire world. In some parts, the desert only sees 2 millimeters of water for the entire year, which means that it's basically impossible for anything to survive. And the few living things that do live must do it with the most minimal amount of water possible. Near the coast, this desert consists mostly of giant sand seas that span hundreds of miles. Any living thing that gets left or lost in the areas would never be able to live without a rescue. In less arid areas, there are indigenous people who manage to survive, but for the most part, it is only home to invertebrates like scorpions and other small animals that can live with almost no water. Safe to say, no humans can survive there. Number 6. Val d'Ujaravi. In recent decades, the world has seen less and less of people who still manage to remain out of touch with modern day technology and civilization, but the few indigenous people left, the Val d'Ujaravi is home to 14 different groups of them. With more than 3,000 individual indigenous people belonging to 14 different tribes, the Brazilian government has prohibited people from entering the area in order to preserve the native people and their traditions. This 32,990 square mile area is bigger than the entire country of Austria. The area, along with its inhabitants, is observed by the government from the air. Now, on June 4, 2022, 2 journalists went missing from the Icota River in the Val d'Ujaravi region in the extreme west of the Amazon on the border with Peru. On June 14, 2022, their bodies were found, and the Brazilian president said something wicked was done to them, and this is why the area is prohibited. Number 5. Mariana Trench. In the western part of the Pacific Ocean, just east of the Philippines, lies the deepest part of our planet's oceans, the Mariana Trench. Now, this massive crescent-shaped scar in the Earth's crust is 1,500 miles long and reaches a depth of 36,000 feet in a valley named Challenger Deep. The trench is so deep that even if you drop the entirety of Mount Everest into it, the tip of the mountain would still be a mile from the surface. Now, James Cameron reached the bottom in the submersible vessel Deep Sea Challenger in 2012, with the last successful attempt to search the area floor coming in 2020 when the Chinese submersible Fendajuzi made it all the way down. Now, because of the sheer size and pressure, only 4 expeditions in total have successfully descended. The Mariana Trench is probably one of the most inaccessible locations on the entire planet for mankind, and because of this, we may never know if some unknown species have made it their home. Number 4. Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu is a mountain in Pakistan which reaches a staggering 7,453 meters, and to this day the summit has remained unclimbed. In 2003, Bhutan banned all climbing, but some expeditions have been able to obtain permits. In 2014, English mountaineer Pete Thompson attempted to scale the mountain, hoping to reach the summit. Thompson expected to have climbed the final 1,453 meters without ropes, but the presence of hard ice derailed his plan to reach the top, forcing him to turn back back at the 6,000 meter mark. Now prior to Thompson's attempt, a Spanish team was rumored made it all the way to 6,650 meters and remains the highest point on the mountain anyone has reached. Only a handful of attempts have been made to reach the summit and none have been successful. Muchu Chish is one of the tallest mountains on Earth that remains unclimbed, and it's the tallest one of all that is not off limits due to religious or political prohibitions. Number 3. Cape Melville. The Lost World of Cape Melville is an Australian headland that had been cut off from exploration by a surrounding wall made of boulders of granite that are hundreds of feet tall. While they've effectively protected its internal rainforest habitat, it also means that the area is virtually impossible to map. In 2013, Conrad Hoskin from James Cook University and a National Geographic film crew were dropped by helicopter onto the rugged Cape Melville mountain range on Cape York Peninsula earlier this year and were amazed at finding new species of animals. Now the virtually impassable mountain range is home to millions of black granite boulders the size of cars and houses, piled hundreds of meters high, eroded in places after being thrust up through the earth millions of years ago. Number 2. Point Nemo. A pole of inaccessibility with respect to a geographical creation of inaccessibility marks the location that is the most challenging to reach. In plain terms, it often refers to the most distant point from the coastline. The oceanic pole of inaccessibility, known as Point Nemo, is a place in the ocean that is furthest from land. The area is so remote that with any location more than 400 kilometers, 250 miles from an inhabited area, sometimes the closest human beings are astronauts aboard the International Space Station when it passes overhead. Point Nemo is relatively lifeless. Its location within the South Pacific Gyre blocks nutrients from reaching the area, and being so far from land, it gets little nutrient runoff from coastal waters. I would not want to find myself here. And coming in at number 1 is Gangkar Pinsum. Considering the world's tallest unclimbed mountain by many, Gangkar Pinsum's peak has never been scaled, and it's unlikely that anyone will if the government has anything to say about it. The peaks of Gangkar Pinsum are sacred to the people of Bhutan, and it's considered extremely taboo for anyone to attempt to scale its slopes and peaks. But ordinance and taboos can't stop everyone, and since part of the mountain extends across the Chinese border, the first and only attempt to assail it was led by a Japanese climbing team in 1998. They were stopped short of their goal to explore the uncharted mountain by politically fueled outrage from Bhutan. Since then, no one else has tried to climb it, and I don't blame them.
At number 10 is the Gavea Hippodrome. The Gavea Hippodrome in Brazil is famous for being seriously spooky. Back when they built it in the early 1900s, workers faced strange shadows and accidents during construction, leading some to believe that angry ghosts were disturbed from their resting place. The eerie occurrences continued even after construction ended. Shadows lurked around, workers mysteriously fell, and machines broke for no apparent reason. Some folks reckon that angry ghosts were mad about the construction on their resting spot. Even today, it's still creepy. People visiting or working there say they've seen ghostly figures in jockey outfits. But get this, it's not just a haunted spot, it's also where horse betting happens. Surprisingly, it's the only legitimately legal place for gambling in Brazil. So, while ghosts might be around, luck might just be on your side when you're betting at this place. At number 9 is Minas Gerais Cambucria, the Grand Hotel. I totally butchered that. It's got quite a spooky reputation. Room number 204 there is like the epicenter of all the creepy stuff. People who stayed there talk about feeling an eerie cold, hearing knocks on the door with no one around, and even seeing things that don't quite add up. I mean, it's not just one or two stories, there are multiple accounts of these strange happenings. Visitors have reported seeing things they can't explain, hearing noises that don't make sense, and feeling a weird vibe all around that place. The Grande Hotel seems to have this mysterious aura that makes people think twice about staying there. It's like something out of the horror movies, but hey, if you're into that kind of spooky stuff, maybe it's a place worth checking out if you dare. If you're enjoying this video so far, you can support this channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing the notification bell, all of which is free. At number 8 is the Jolma Building. The Jolma Building in Brazil is known for being seriously spooky. Back in 1975, a huge fire tore through this 25-story building in just under 20 minutes because of an electrical problem. It was tragic. Over 486 people had lost their lives in the fire. Even after it was rebuilt and renamed Praça de Bandeira, eerie things just kept happening. People say they've spotted ghosts wandering around the halls and rooms, but what's even creepier is the story about the 13 souls who got stuck in the elevator during the fire. Some believe that these spirits are still hanging around, adding to the haunted vibe of the place. If you're someone who gets scared easily, this might not be the best spot for a visit. The history and the story surrounding this building are enough to make your hair stand on end. At number 7 is the Serra da Abobora in the Amazon jungle. Deep within the Amazon jungle lies a spine-chilling spot. It's infamous for a haunting legend involving an ancient ghost named Urutau, I think. This spectral being supposedly lures unsuspecting souls with the mesmerizing melody of a beautiful bird song, but here's the catch. Once drawn near, dreadful things reportedly start to unfold. It's said that those who venture too close to this spirit face frightening and inexplicable occurrences. It's no wonder very few tread into this part of the Amazon. This eerie tale teaches us a sobering lesson that even in the midst of breathtaking places like in the Amazon, there might lurk spine-tingling mysteries best left undisturbed. At number 6 is the Petropolis Museum. The Petropolis Museum, also known as the Imperial Museum of Brazil, has an eerie reputation that's tied to its 19th century origins. Constructed within the Grand Palace of Emperor Dom Pedro II, this site is believed to house the ghost of the former emperor himself. Visitors and staff reported sightings of this apparition, claiming to have witnessed his spectral figure moving through the halls, particularly after nightfall. This spectral presence has turned the Petropolis Museum into one of Brazil's most notorious haunted places. Despite its spine-chilling reputation, there remains a curious allure for those brave enough to explore its haunted corridors and experience the unsettling atmosphere firsthand. For those with a strong heart and a penchant for the supernatural, this haunted locale in Brazil might offer an unforgettable, albeit potentially hair-raising experience. At number 5 is the Brasilia City Hall. You know, the Brasilia City Hall might seem like just another government building in Brazil's federal district, but it has been said that this place, sitting right there in Brasilia, has a history that might make you think twice before wandering in alone. Legend has it that this city hall wasn't always a place for politicians and meetings. No, it was once a mortuary where they stored a bunch of bodies before they were laid to rest. And get this, the place burned down at one point, only to rise from the ashes like a phoenix. Now, the creepy stuff doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. People have reported doors slamming shut out of the blue, cabinets making a racket, and windows closing without a soul touching them. Oh, and there's a story about a guy who got locked in a room all by himself while there wasn't a single other person around. Pretty spooky. At number 4 is the road to Petropolis from Rio de Janeiro. As you head down this road from Rio de Janeiro, this road has some spooky stories attached to it. People driving there have claimed to see a strange thing. A blonde lady on the side of the road. I mean, it doesn't sound so strange, but what is odd is that she seems to be signaling for help, pointing at a broken down car and a body lying nearby. Now, when folks stop to assist, they freak out because it's the same woman they just saw moments ago, now lying lifeless by the car. And here's the creepy part. Poof! She and the car vanish into thin air. It's left those drivers feeling pretty shaken up. So if you're planning to take that road, just keep your eyes peeled and stay sharp. You never know what strange things might happen along the way. At number 3 is the Dream Beach. The Dream Beach in Sao Paulo, Itanheim, holds a chilling reputation among haunted spots in Brazil. Legend has it that the lingering spirits of a deceased couple haunt this very shore. Witnesses claim to have glimpsed these apparitions to spectral figures, their forms decayed, vanishing into thin air without a trace. Even the beach's maintenance crew attest to eerie occurrences, citing unexplained voices and unsettling noises resonating across the deserted expanse in the dead of night. The spectral setting serves as a cautionary tale, warning visitors to proceed with extreme caution, lest they too become entangled in the mysteries that shroud the Dream Beach. And at number 2 is the road to Victoria. Truckers often drive down the road to Victoria in Campos, Rio de Janeiro, but there's something eerie about it. Lots of drivers say they've seen ghosts while on this road. These spooky figures suddenly appear in front of the trucks, causing drivers to panic and hit the brakes to avoid hitting them. Now, what's really weird is that as soon as the trucks stop, these ghostly figures just vanish. People believe they might be the spirits of construction workers who perished while building the road. It's like they're stuck there, tied to the construction work they're used to. That would really suck. Imagine being forced to haunt the place you worked for the rest of your afterlife. Boy, oh boy. It's a pretty scary place and lots of folks avoid driving there at night. It's the stories about these ghosts that make people think twice about taking that road. And coming in at number 1 is Snake Island in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now this place technically isn't haunted, but if you ask me, it's definitely the scariest place on this list. This remote island is home to the golden lancehead vipers, whose venomous bite packs a punch that's 5 times stronger than any snake found in Brazil. But they're not the only snakes around, as in fact, here is where the snake density reaches nightmarish proportions. Imagine 1 to 5 snakes lurking in every square meter. Why are they so fearsome? Well, blame it on geography. When Snake Island parted ways with mainland Brazil 11,000 years ago, these snakes were forced to confront evolution by becoming aerial assassins. Yes, that's right, with no terrestrial prey to feast upon, they mastered tree dwelling and developed a venom 5 times more potent than their mainland kin. This lethal venom can eliminate birds instantly and even, get this, melt human flesh. So the Brazilian government wisely bans entry to this reptilian Eden. Very wisely. It's a chilling reminder that nature's adaptability can birth monsters even in the most unlikely places.
Since the late 1940s, Americans have been fascinated by a mysterious region in Nevada known as Area 51.
It operated in total secrecy.
You know, working at the nuclear test site or at the Tonopah test range north of there.
From underground bunkers to remote deserts, these enclaves of the unknown have sparked more conspiracy theories and speculation than any sci-fi movie. Are they testing advanced aircraft, harboring extraterrestrial secrets, or conducting experiments far beyond our wildest imaginations? Buckle up and prepare for a journey into the heart of the world's most impenetrable fortresses, where the line between fact and fiction blurs and the truth is stranger than fiction. Starting off our list today, we have Clandestine Yar in Russia. This place, often shrouded in an aura of intrigue and mystery, is a Russian rocket launch and development site that has fueled countless conspiracy theories and urban legends since its establishment in 1946. Dubbed the Russian Roswell, it has been at the epicenter of UFO folklore in Russia, with numerous sightings and alleged alien encounters reported over the decades. The secrecy surrounding its operations only amplifies the allure, with speculations ranging from hidden extraterrestrial artifacts to advanced undisclosed aerospace technologies. While it serves as a significant hub for Russia's aerospace endeavors, its mysterious past and the restricted access to the site have made it a fertile ground for outlandish theories and urban legends, my favorite. Next up, we have Camp Peary, commonly referred to as the Farm, is a site nestled in Virginia in the United States, and it is shrouded in a veil of secrecy that feeds the imagination and fuels countless conspiracy theories. Officially designated as a military reservation, it is widely reputed to be the CIA's premier training facility for spies and intelligence operatives. That's like the coolest thing in the world to me. I would love to be a spy. This cloak and dagger aura is compounded by the tight-lipped nature of its operations and the near impenetrable security surrounding the site, which naturally gives rise to speculations ranging from advanced espionage training methods to covert experiments and beyond. The allure of Camp Peary is not just in what is known, but in the mysteries and possibilities of what might lie within its guarded confines. This blend of fact, speculation, and mystery ensures that this site remains one of America's most interesting and captivating secret facilities. Next up on our list today, we have Huanyang Tan, which is in China. This place is full of mystery, largely due to a very intriguing discovery made there: a vast-scale model of a disputed border area between China, specifically Aksai Chin, a region administered by China but claimed by India. The model, roughly the size of several football fields, was spotted on satellite images, sparking a flurry of speculation mission. While the official explanation suggests it is likely used for military training, giving troops a detailed 3D perspective of the terrain they might encounter, this has not stopped a wave of theories, of course. People have suggested purposes ranging from advanced weapon testing to extraterrestrial communication. This place is full of secrets the public is just waiting to know the truth about, but the truth is, we will likely never know. Next up on our list today, we have Zitkar in Russia. Okay, another one of those secret Russian facilities. This place has captivated the imagination of conspiracy theorists. I mean, what doesn't capture their imagination? But also military aficionados. Dubbed by some as Russia's Area 51, this facility is rumored to nestle within the confines of Kapustin Yar missile test range that we already spoke about, which itself is a site of considerable speculation due to its historic ties to the Soviet Union's early forays into space and missile technology. Urban legends paint Zitkar as a subterranean labyrinth teeming with alien technology and clandestine government experiments. Tales of UFO crash retrievals, reverse engineering of extraterrestrial artifacts, and even advanced propulsion research echo through the corridors of conspiracy forums, fueling a narrative that blends Cold War secrecy with sci-fi mystique. I'm just saying, Bob Lazar probably loves this place. While concrete evidence remains as elusive as the whispers of alien encounters, Zitkar's allure persists, an unexplained secret base where the limits of technology and reality itself seem to blur. Moving on down our list, we have the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which is located in the scenic New Mexico. This place is not only a cradle of scientific innovation, but also a fertile ground for the imagination. Established during World War II as part of the Manhattan Project, its primary mission was to design and build the atomic bomb. Most of us probably saw Oppenheimer, so I feel like we have a bit of an idea as to what this time in history was like. This clandestine origin has sown the seeds of mysteries that have flourished into various theories and legends. While it is revered for its contributions to nuclear science, space exploration, and national security, Los Alamos also wades through a swamp of speculative tales ranging from alien research to time travel experiments. Despite its transparent achievements in science and technology, the shroud of secrecy that once enveloped its operations feeds public curiosity and fuels tales that tread the fine line between fact and fiction. Next up on our list, we have the Tonopah Test Range, ensconced in the remote reaches of Nevada. This place is a swath of land that has long been the focal point of intense speculation. Officially, it serves as a key site for the testing of advanced weapons systems and aerospace technology, playing a pivotal role in the US military's research and development endeavors. Yet, its veil of secrecy and restricted access has painted it as a hub of extraterrestrial research, secret government experiments, and futuristic aircraft testing grounds that are years ahead of their time. This place remains quite the mystery. What are they doing out there in the Nevada desert? It's the question on everyone's minds. Next up, we have the Voluchinsk submarine base in Russia. A submarine base. Oh my god, it really doesn't get more secretive than that. I don't know, I'm kind of afraid of submarines. I don't know if that's like irrational or not, but it just kind of freaked me out. They're so large. This place is located on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, and it is a pivotal yet very mysterious naval installation. Officially known as Rybachi Nuclear Submarine Base, it serves as the home port for a significant portion of Russia's nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine fleet. Say that 5 times fast, holy. This base's remote and inhospitable location, combined with the inherent stealth and destructive power of its submarine inhabitants, shrouds this place in an aura of mystery and foreboding. Urban legends and theories surrounding this base often focus on hypothetical underwater alien bases, or even just covert undersea operations, with some suggesting that the base's submarines are involved in missions or encounters with extraterrestrial technology beneath the Pacific Ocean's depths. I truly could not make this up. Next up on our list today, we have the Thule Air Base in Greenland. This place is the United States' northernmost military installation, and it is a site covered in the icy mists of mystery and intrigue. Situated well within the Arctic Circle, this remote outpost has been a beacon, largely due to its extreme location and strategic importance. While officially it serves as a radar station and a key node in the ballistic missile early warning system, its isolated and harsh environment has only worked to fuel the speculation about scary activities and top secret experiments. Rumors range from underground facilities burrowing into the Arctic ice to be a staging ground for space weapons or even UFO-related research. Despite these colorful tales, the site's critical role in military and aerospace operations is undeniable, standing as a silent sentinel in one of the most desolate places on Earth. Alright, starting off our top two, we have the Holloman Air Force Base in the United States, nestled in the arid landscapes of New Mexico. This place is an epicenter of aviation and aerospace innovation, but of course, it is cloaked in secrecy. Renowned for its high-speed test track, where cutting-edge aircraft and technology are pushed to their limits, Holloman has etched its name into the annals of military lore. However, it is not just the technological feats that draw attention. Whispers of UFO sightings and extraterrestrial engagements have swirled around its parameters. While firmly rooted in its mission of advancing aerial prowess, Holloman Air Force Base remains a place where rumors of alien abductions have happened to Air Force sergeants working at the facility. Known for its infamous missing Project Grudge Report 13 after the mysterious death of Sergeant Jonathan P. Lovett in 1956, Holloman Air Force Base is certainly one of the strangest bases on this list. And finally on our list today, we have Area 6. Unlike its more famous neighbor, Area 51, Area 6 has managed to maintain a lower profile, yet it harbors its own strange allure. Officially, this remote outpost is designated for drone testing and other aerial experiments conducted by the Department of Energy and Department of Defense. However, its secluded location and stringent security measures have ignited the public imagination, leading to speculation that it might actually be a hotbed for activities far more secretive than acknowledged. Tales and theories range from experimental aircraft and advanced weapons testing to more outlandish claims of extraterrestrial collaborations. I have a theory for you. What if Area 6 is actually the place where the most secretive things happen, and Area 51 is just used as like a sort of cover-up? Like, oh yeah, look here and how secretive this place is. Well, it's actually Area 6 hiding mermaids and aliens and whatever else is out there that we don't know about.
At number 9 is the British Operation Tarabin. Tarabin? I don't know. Antarctica might seem like the last place you would expect to see wartime secrets, but during World War II, Britain had some hidden plans on ice. While the Germans weren't chilling out there, allegedly, Britain was in fact making moves in Antarctica. They staked their claim in Antarctica to fend off Argentina and Chile's claims, both of whom were buddy-buddy with Germany. In 1944, Operation Tarabin kicked off, where the British occupied their slice of the Antarctic pie. They said it was about hunting down German ships, but it was more than that. They set up a secret base in frozen desolation, and these bases weren't bustling metropolises either. They were small manned outposts, but they weren't just sipping on hot cocoa out there. They gathered important intel and conducted scientific research. After the war, the chill research vibe continued, evolving into the British Antarctic Survey. Now, with both the Allies and the Axis powers holding a stake in Antarctic land, it was only a matter of time before this Cold War got freezer burn. But before I get into this secret Antarctic battle, if you're enjoying this video so far, you could support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is Modenheim 1. It's often rumored that during Operation Tabarin, the Brits set up a base, Modenheim 1, in Dronningmod land during the World War II to keep an eye on the supposed Axis base. But conveniently, there are no public records to prove of Modenheim 1's existence. Now, the fascists allegedly attacked Modenheim 1 in July of 1945, followed by SAS-led retaliatory missions from October to December of the same year. But for as fantastic as this Antarctic covert ops story is, there's not a lot to back it up. You see, on paper, Operation Tarabin wasn't about secret war. explorers, it aimed at a British scientific presence in the British claimed sector of Antarctica. Plus, there's no indication of SAS presence in Antarctica during the war, so the tales of the hidden battle and mystery bases are mostly just myths, my friends. Antarctica was more about scientific exploration than covert ops during those times. Or so they claim. At number 7 is Operation High Jump in 1946 to 47, which saw the USA sending the largest crew ever to Antarctica, over 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft. Now, the official purpose was, in fact, a military one, all about preparing for cold weather warfare. But there are rumors that suggest that there was something more covert at play. The conspiracy theorists claim that Operation High Jump's real mission was to destroy the aforementioned secret Axis powers in Drowning Mudland. The truth is, High Jump was primarily a military exercise, not a cloak and dagger mission. It was well documented in the press, as the expedition was accompanied by journalists, and official reports were released. While it might have been classified as confidential, it was never really a secret. No flying saucers chased them away, it was just the unpredictability of harsh Antarctic conditions that ended their mission early. Or so they claim. At number 6, Operation Argus Nuclear Bombs. So there were a lot of talk about these supposed secret bases in Antarctica, but let's delve into some facts here. You see, back in 1958, the US conducted 3 nuclear explosions during Operation Argus over the South Atlantic, not directly over Antarctica. These were high-altitude tests aimed at potentially disrupting radar, radio, and electronics of satellites and missiles during the Cold War. Now, the whole idea that these bases were meant to destroy the fascist bases in Drowning Mudland is just a narrative not supported by evidence. In fact, if these nukes had gone off near Antarctica, the radioactive fallout would have shown up in ice from across the region, but no such peaks of radioisotopes have ever been found in those ice cores. Or so they claim. Moreover, 1958 was the International Geophysical Year, with international corporations and scientists from various countries in the region, making it highly unlikely that such nuclear tests would have gone unnoticed. At number 4, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. According to whistleblower Corey Goode, or Goad, I don't know, there's a buried ancient alien civilization beneath 2 miles of ice, and it's been hidden from us for decades. This isn't some sci-fi fantasy, it's based on Goad's first-hand experience as a whistleblower from a secret space program. Allegedly. The story goes back to the 1939 Arctic German expedition. The ancient beings he refers to, called the pre-Adamites, were giants with elongated skulls, and their technology and remnants have allegedly been removed from the site, but only a select few knows what else was discovered. The timing of this revelation is quite interesting, as it might serve as a distraction from explosive global events, including allegations of trafficking among the elite. I don't know how that ties in, but okay. At number 3 on the list is Admiral Byrd's Crystal City. The esteemed US naval officer and explorer Admiral Richard Byrd was one of the first pilots to fly over both poles, who actually organized Operation High Jump himself, which, as I said, was the largest expedition to ever travel to Antarctica, with all kinds of ships, aircraft, and crew, in order to scout out locations for potential military bases. But during his explorations, Admiral Byrd allegedly came upon something highly unexpected. The following comes from not a public account, but from his own diary, which was discovered by his son after Byrd's passing, in which he recounts an extraordinary story. Upon encountering a large cave in the South Pole, through which he could easily fly his plane, Byrd steers his plane into an opening and flew under the earth. And as he flew within the massive cave, he encroaches upon an incredibly temperate and lush environment, not something you would expect in the South Pole. But that's just the beginning. He tells of how he sees a shimmering rainbow city made of crystal, and suddenly he loses autonomy of his plane as flying disc-shaped objects lead his plane to the ground, whereupon he's escorted to a being which he refers to as the Master in his diary, who tells Byrd that this alien species is massively disappointed with nuclear weapons and how they've recently destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, seeming to be really concerned with what's going on at the surface, telling Byrd that he hopes humanity will ultimately stop the use of atomic weapons. At number 2 is the Antarctic Pyramids. In 2016, rumors of a pyramid-like mountain circulated the internet, capturing the imaginations of many. Could it be the creation of an ancient civilization, or perhaps, cue the dramatic pause, evidence of extraterrestrial intervention? Whoa. The square-based pyramid is perched in the Ellsworth Range, standing around 4,000 feet tall. It's like 10 times the size of the pyramids of Giza. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, or should I say the tip of the mountain? Reports of plant and bacterial life dating back eons have also come to light, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, prehistoric, or should I say pre-human society once graced this frigid expanse, crafting not only pyramids, but also tending to vegetation. Bam! Proof of ancient aliens, or just a neat geological formation. I'll let you guys decide in the comments. At number 1 is the alien base. If this last story is to be believed, there's allegedly a secret alien base with advanced and unconventional weapons hidden in the icy waters of the Antarctic. According to a video uploaded by UFO hunters, a mysterious anomaly about 180 kilometers off the coast of Antarctica has been spotted. They speculate that it's not just some kind of hangar for a spaceship, but that actual aliens might be residing there too. Now this may veer a little bit more towards the conspiracy side rather than the good old urban legend, but hey, it's all in good fun. Some believers are advocating for an exploration to confirm the existence of these aliens, while others voice their concerns about potentially sparking an intergalactic war if we're not too careful. So whatever it is, let's just hope we tread carefully at this time.